From Politico, J.D. Vance foreign aid bill could get Trump impeached. The Ohio GOP senator's office argues that the legislation could tie Trump's hands if he tries to pause Ukraine funds should he win the presidency again. Vance distributed a memo to Senate GOP offices on Monday, arguing that the foreign aid measure could tie Trump's hands if he comes into office next year wanting to pause Ukraine funds as part of negotiations on ending Russia's war on the U.S. ally. That's because some of the legislation's funding expires 9 months into the next presidency, effectively, according to Vance, handcuffing a future President Trump from making his own decisions on Ukraine spending. Now, this is the important thing. The likelihood that the first thing that we mentioned previously, but we'll say it again just for the sake of this segment, this is a political time bomb for Donald Trump, or a pit trap. Democrats fear that if he wins, he will try to shut down the war in Ukraine and bring peace. And so not only do they want to find ways to remove him, they want to tie his hands together if he does win so that he can't make any changes. The terrifying thing about this, it's quite literally Donald Trump will get elected. I'm saying in the event Trump gets elected, which I believe is a strong probability, but we'll see. He absolutely will seek to negotiate with Russia to stop the war, bring peace, stabilize the region. And that means that if Russia says to Trump, okay, as a sign of good faith, as we begin the ceasefire, funding must stop. And Trump will go, I can't do that. They'll impeach me. Think about what that does to undermine the president's position before he's even spoken a word. This means upon entering office, Vladimir Putin will say to Trump, you do not have the authority to negotiate as the president of the United States to bring peace because I saw the bill they passed. It was in your news and they will impeach you and remove you from power if you try. Talk about evil, these people.
Yeah. And I think Trump's equivocated now recently about Ukraine, whether he would continue funding them. And so it's not clear that he is actually the target here necessarily. But definitely they want to make...
Maybe RFK Jr. wins and they don't want him to do it?
Maybe. Maybe that's in their cards, yeah.
What if RFK Jr. does win? He's got some polls got him at like 17%.
Oh, no, he's higher than that. They're saying higher. 33. Yeah.
Where? What polls got him at 33?
Here we go again. I don't know exactly which polls, but
he was saying for a while that he was polling in the 20s and he was gaining 1% every week. So he was on track to get the necessary just over a third of the vote to beat out Biden and Trump. I don't know how accurate it is, but I think
let me look it up.
I think third-party candidacies are really interesting because of this. It shifts it from being this fight for just over 50% to being this much lower margins, which other countries that have multiple political parties are used to in a way that America is not.
Yeah, that's the good thing about this.
Typically, we've got, there's one poll from Suffolk that has Biden up 20 points. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
They just asked everybody in the White House briefing room.
Right. But typically, Kennedy's polling at, we got one from, this is a Republican-affiliated research, an opinion research, 16%. But a lot of them have him 6%. We got him at 8%. I don't see him cracking 30.
Well, that's what he's putting out. Maybe that's his propaganda. So, but
definitely.
But he was posting something like that on Twitter that he was a viable third-party candidate at 33%. But it's.
I think what we're seeing with the southern border, and the reason why right now the Senate is trying to advance. So at first they called it the border bill because these people are despicable scumbags who lie, cheat, and steal. And the bill was actually funding for Ukraine. $20 billion went to border amnesty projects, but it wasn't a border security bill. Talk about spitting in the face of people being like, the Democrats come out and be like, why are Republicans blocking the border bill? I'm like, because 80% of it is foreign war funding.
Yeah.
These people. So what do? They remove the border stuff, and now they're just trying to steamroll through the Ukraine stuff.
Right.
But aside
and the
from
Israel stuff,
and the Israel stuff, and aside from the time bomb and pit trap that is this impeachment potentiality, I think what they're doing on the southern border, the reason why we're seeing a dramatic escalation in illegal immigrants being allowed in the country, they need to get in 3 years worth. 3 presidential terms worth of illegal immigrants, because you've got. If Biden just allows the standard amount of illegal immigrants in the country, Trump deports that many, they hit 0. They got a quota, baby. So by doing 3 terms worth, when Trump deports as many as possible, 1 term's worth, they get 2 full terms of criminal aliens flooding into the country. They're not going to do anything to secure the border. The Republicans are going to hem and haw and ultimately do nothing to secure the border. It is in all likelihood going to come down to a last-minute deal where the Republicans cave, some crackpot garbage Republicans announce their retirement, and then give Democrats everything they want, and more bombs drop in Ukraine at your expense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Democracy.
I mean, all foreign aid should end, including aid to Ukraine, Taiwan, Israel. All this military funding should end immediately.
I'm okay with foreign aid, but not the foreign aid we're doing right now. Not the unreasonable, weird military stuff.
Right.
Not the gender studies stuff.
Right.
Foreign aid should literally be like a ship capsized, and we're going to fix it.
I think it should be humanitarian and based on charity. So if you want to have foreign aid, then individuals can donate into a pool and then send it over. But otherwise, it's robbery.
Well, foreign aid for charity ends up going into the hand, and when it goes
Into the NGOs.
it always goes into the NGOs, and it always goes to the governments of the.
But let's slow down.
true.
I want to say this, just so everybody understands. I am 100% in favor of people's tax dollars being given to foreign countries. I mean it. First, we got to fix all of our roads. We got to fix our border. We got to get rid of unemployment. Once unemployment is at 0, or a reasonable number, might be a couple percentage points, because some people literally can't work, so there's going to be some unemployment. Once we have solved all of our problems, then after a vote, we can decide if we do want to send aid to anybody else.
We won't
2
get to
years
vote on
after the last American commits
but that's my
suicide,
condition.
then we'll send it.
I'm in
okay.
favor of sending it after we agree we fixed all our problems
absolutely,
first.
yep.
There's one thing that I want to say that I'm sure Michael is aware of, and he would also have a massive has a massive problem with that. Most people don't realize. Part of the thing that foreign aid does is it spreads the U.S. dollar around the world, therefore making other countries look at the dollar as more valuable.
Yes.
So it's propping up the dollar.
fiat dollar.
So that way the government can use can print more. So it's
That's right.
literally exporting. It's more than just exporting dollars. It's so that way the government can produce more dollars, which is inflation to
That's
you,
right. It causes
and it
inflation.
costs you money in your bank account.
Yeah. And when I said no foreign aid, what I mean is this: what's happening is we're being basically robbed. There's no consent here. You said we'd vote on it. Well, I think there's an easy way to settle that. If you want to give money to a foreign country, give it away as your individual or as a group, some sort of charity. But to rob the American people for this money, then to send it off to other countries against our will, and in many cases now to kill other people for no reason that we have anything to do with.
We got a snowstorm coming up to the nor'easter is about to hit. And that means there's going to be some power outages. There's going to be some snow plow requirements. And you know what? All of that requires money. And we're spending all of that money. How about before we give money away, we take care of our own problems, as simple as sometimes it snows. I mean, you know, people like to talk about, if there's a disaster, the crisis on the southern border needs to be solved before we give money to Israel or Ukraine. I'm like, I'll take it one step further. We got to pay the snowplow man up in New York before I give money to anybody else.
How many train derailments are there every year? Like, there are all kinds of infrastructure, small problems that we have that we can't prepare for, that we should generally think we're going to take care of the things that happen here before anywhere else. But it just is endless, the amount of money they're willing to ship us abroad.
I got to tell you, I would sooner vote to give the entirety. Okay, let's say this money, what are we looking at, $95 billion. It's been taken from the taxes, and it is on a hot air balloon in the air, and that money's gone. Mm-hmm. It's going to either land in the hands of the Ukrainians or just Ian Crossland. Just him. Just Ian. I would vote for it to go to Ian. No question.
Be better.
Absolutely. A single random American should have that money before we give it away to a foreign country. More importantly, it should be redistributed back to the people for whom it was taken from.
I think we have to. I agree with everything that everyone's saying in principle, but because of the situation with the value of our currency and the debt that we hold, we can't just be end all foreign aid and blah blah blah, you have to get rid of some of the dollars that are in circulation.
That's right.
You have to get rid of those before you start doing the whole stop this. You have to make sure that you have to get the currency gets onto some kind of hard backing, something like that before you can do. Then once you do that, then you can start ending the foreign aid, because once you start ending the foreign aid and have fewer dollars around, you're going to have all kinds of monetary problems that are going to erupt that we're going to have to deal with realistically, that we can't get out of dealing with because we have to, because of entitlements and $33 trillion in debt and stuff. And I know that I'm speaking Michael's language as a Mises guy.
We need to consolidate the dollar, probably back it by gold, the fiat currency, back it by gold, and then consolidate the existing currency that's out there. So that would reduce the actual dollars that are floating around, and then because you have to base it on real commodity like gold. But in the meantime, as I've said last time here, I think we need these parallel currencies to be in operation, so that people are fighting against the Fed's money monopoly
Bitcoin,
right now.
Bitcoin is blasted off in the past 2 days. I thought that it topped out, and I was like, "Oh, I'll go ahead and sell some to go ahead." And
Bitcoin's at 50,178. I am a happy camper.
Excellent.
Put it very mildly.
Yeah.
I bought it a while ago, and it's like a savings account, I guess. Mm-hmm. Man, it's kind of wild that I don't want to get into too big of a Bitcoin thing, but I think in terms of where we're headed internationally, especially with El Salvador's success. Yeah. I mean, you look at wow. I mean, if you're a citizen of El Salvador, you must be jumping up and down when Bitcoin's now at 50K. Because this means that your country's net worth is just skyrocketing. Their capability to import goods, fix the roads, do all these really great things. I'm just thinking about the stopping of the crime, the gangs, the building of new libraries. There was that big unveiling, the landslide victory, and I'm like, there, but for the grace of God, go we. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have those things?
But I think that kind of success does open a lot of regular Americans' minds to the possibility that these things have. I think there are enough people who don't understand the complexities of Bitcoin or whatever else, who feel the stress of countries that seem to be basically falling apart, and they'll look to these other countries and say, maybe they're onto something.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, we need a Javier Milei moment.
That's right. We do.
Afuera.
Yes, we do.
I mean,
minus the weeping at the wailing wall. However, I won't do that.
Yeah, but at least he's making the cuts.
Yes, he is. He is.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think that stuff like Bitcoin is a great idea. Obviously, the Federal Reserve and the federal government and the Federal Reserve system is unreliable. The inflation that we're seeing right now, they managed to moderate it, but they haven't been able to actually slow it down to a reasonable level. 4% inflation is too much. It's bad. Also, I don't think that that's actually calculated the way they used to. They've begun to change the way they calculate things, which is extremely Soviet and typical of socialist type governments, lying about the production and lying about things like your financials and stuff like that. So I don't know what the long term forecast is, how long it's going to be, but everybody that predicted the inflation because of the printing of money and stuff, it's all still in there. Like, we haven't solved any of it. Just because we had some inflation now doesn't mean that there isn't still a dollar bubble and all the things that the libertarians have been that the libertarians have been saying for over a decade, right?
Yeah, it's a huge bubble. It's going to burst. It could, it might burst in pockets here and there and wipe out industries. That's very possible.
Who are libertarian voters in America? Like,
who are they?
Yeah.
Nerds.
They're autistic. Okay.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. That's kind of like a running joke. Mm-hmm. But no, I mean, libertarians are people. They come from every segment of society, and they, a lot of times, a lot of people come from the military. They served in the military. They felt like they were used as tools. They saw what the American regime and empire is about, and they turned against it. And or in my case, I was a far leftist, and I saw the error of my ways and saw that the state was the real enemy, not the capitalist class.
What made you see that?
This is the fascinating thing about anarchy and anarchists. Typically, when you're in New York, you'll meet people who claim to be anarchists, but they're the most authoritarian people you'll ever meet. And so I've had these discussions with the quote unquote leftist anarchists. They're communists.
Yes.
I don't believe that you can be a leftist and an anarchist.
No, it's impossible.
No, it's not. It's not impossible. It's
Well, if you say you're an ANCOM, that means an anarchist and communist. Who's going to enforce the fact that nobody's allowed to have property but the state?
Shared morality. So,
Yeah, well,
so the issue is, if you are a libertarian socialist or an anarcho communist or something,
communist.
basically what you're saying is you and your buddies want to live on a farm by yourselves.
Yeah, go ahead.
And absolutely. And you go live on the farm, and your buddy comes in and says, I grew some squash. Looks like they're ripe. Would you like to share them with me? That's great. I'll do the dishes afterwards. Hey, that's fantastic if you can live that way. But when you scale up to neighboring communities, good luck. So in a very, very small scale, but you meet these people in New York, and they're like, I'm an anarchist. I think I should beat people until they do what I want. I'm like, yeah, you're a fascist.
Exactly.
That's not anarchy.
They're the biggest statists out there. That's the real irony. You look at somebody like Antifa. These people are actually foot soldiers for the state.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.